and I don't see anybody else in our division that is ready to win right now, except maybe the Washington Commanders. And we get into that. 2 years ago, they were 12-5. They reached the championship game. Jayden Daniels looked like the next coming of Lamar Jackson. He looked unstoppable. And then last year, he takes some more hits. He ends up getting hurt. Terry McLaurin misses time. The defense can't stop a nosebleed. The Washington Commanders end up being an absolute bust of a year last year. And now we're coming into year 3 of Jayden going, well, who is Jayden Daniels? Can he stay healthy? Can he protect himself? Is he the guy that we saw? Is the video game helping him? I mean, last year, 1,200 yards, 8 TDs, 3 interceptions, 278 yards rushing. But again, he missed more than half the season with injury because he's out there not protecting himself, much like a Jackson Dart, who we'll talk about in a little bit. Their draft picks, like you wanted, Sonny Styles from Ohio State comes in. Antonio Williams, wide receiver from Clemson, I believe, came in. Joshua Josephs from Tennessee, outside linebacker. Good running back, Kaytron Allen from Penn State.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he fell all the way to the 6th round. I think that could end up being a steal of a pick for Washington.
It could be. I'm always leaning towards Big Ten running backs because they do run the ball a lot in the Big Ten, and it's usually really good offensive and defensive lines in that division. They got a new center from Michigan State, Matt Gulbin, and then Athan Kaliakmanis, quarterback from Rutgers. I can tell you, I don't know much about Rutgers except Michigan beats their ass every single year as a warm-up going into the Big Ten. So, why are they taking another quarterback? Don't know. I feel like Mariota is the standard number 2 there. He's a perfect backup to Jayden Daniels. But that's where we are with Washington. Did they get better? Did they get worse? And do you believe in Jayden Daniels? That's the question.
Well, it's hard to say on Jayden Daniels. There's still just a lot of question marks because he was so good as a rookie. He was fantastic as a rookie. But then last year, you had the sophomore slump, and it was for a lot of reasons. It wasn't necessarily his fault. He did have the injuries, but the team around him just wasn't as good. I'm very curious to see if he can get back to that form we saw his rookie year. And, of course, that is what it's all going to rely on when it comes to the Commanders. The Commanders did a whole lot to improve their roster in free agency. They did a ton, especially on the defensive side of the ball, signing Odafe Oweh, the defensive end out of Jacksonville, picking up Rachaad White to add to that backfield with Jakrowski, Corey Merritt. That was a very underrated signing. So they've already got 2 good running backs now, and then they added Kaytron Allen out of Penn State. Their backfield should be very, very solid. Leo Chenal, good solid linebacker. It's a guy I wish the Cowboys would have pursued once their initial pursuits did not come to fruition at that spot. Leo Chenal was a guy I kind of wish the Cowboys had kind of gone after. They went and got Clavon Chaisson at defensive end as well. They signed Charles Omenihu to be into the rotation at defensive end. They did a lot as far as spending money on the free agency side to really kind of shore things up. So, they are definitely looking to, with all the moves they made even before the draft, this is a team that is definitely looking at, hey, we were in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. We're going to try. We think we can get back to that this year is what they're hoping.
And they have 2 new coordinators, important to mention. David Blau is the new offensive coordinator. He was actually promoted. And I think you say his name, Deontay Jones. He's the new defensive coordinator. So you've got 2 new coordinators. So that could make some changes. I don't see the offense changing too much because obviously you're going to do what your quarterback likes. But the defense definitely needed some help. And Dan Quinn is a defensive guy. So that he's got
it's Dan Quinn's defense.
He's irritated with how their defense played last year.
Yeah, that is, make no mistake about it, that's Dan Quinn's defense. Deontay Jones may be making the calls, but that, or at least helping make the calls, but that is absolutely Dan Quinn's defense.
So you look at the Cowboys and the Eagles, right? The Eagles obviously winning the division. The Cowboys not winning the division could have a big turnaround. Washington goes from an NFC title game to one of the worst teams in the league a year ago because of injury and defensive letdown. Do you expect a full turnaround from the Washington Commanders this year?
If I had to put money on it, I would definitely say that they I don't know if they are good enough to win the division yet, but with the moves that they made, I would expect them to be kind of right there with Dallas, fighting for that for at the very least second in the division and a wild card spot. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to that 12-4, was that 12-5 season that they had, and I'm going to just say that people forget, but I don't, because I'm an NFC East guy, is that they had the easiest schedule in the league that year.
They did.
They won a couple of games that, I mean, honestly, they shouldn't have won. Like the Bears game, they shouldn't have won that game. And that game kind of changed the trajectory for both teams. I'll never forget that afternoon. But I just feel like maybe we, got fallen into a sense of.
But hey, they also went on the road. Remember, they also went on the road in the playoffs and beat Detroit that year, who was the number one seed
That looked big then. Looking back now, are we kind of thinking that, Detroit and the playoffs really don't mesh still?